probably one of the greatest westerns ever made, and ended up winning an Oscar for Best Picture. And your role in that was really interesting because you were the author of a book that was being written about Richard Harris's character, and you were following him along, and you're really, reacting and listening to all of this crazy behavior that's happening around you, where, Gene Hackman is kind of attacking Richard Harris, and you're, witnessing the climax of the film, this huge shootout in the saloon. So how did you sort of approach that character when you read the script?
It was really an amazing script. I was working with Jack Nicholson on a movie called Man Trouble, and Jack Nicholson said, "I hear by the grapevine that you're going to be auditioning for my old pal Clint Eastwood." And I said, "How'd you hear that?" He said, "I hear gossip, And I said, "Let me give you a little advice." And I said, "Okay, when's the last time you auditioned for anything, Jack?" And he said, "You think I'm an asshole?" I said, No. I just think that I could tell you a little bit about auditioning, and you could tell me how to be a movie star. But I think, as far as advice is concerned, I was just fucking around. But I said, "I'll take any advice you give me." He said, "Just do more than's required." "We do more than's required. You're going to put yourself on tape, I heard." I said, "Yeah." "You're going to go into that casting office and put yourself on tape?" I said, "No, I don't want to do that." He said, "Don't do that. Make your own tape," which is now common, but in those days, in 91 or 90 or whatever it was, 91, it wasn't common. And I said, "I'm going to do it to myself." "Yeah, do that. So I put myself on tape, lit it properly, did more than they asked me to do, did other scenes that weren't required, and some people hate that, but I got cast right away. And I asked him, when I met him, I got brought out to do a costume fitting and a boot fitting. The boots were all made for us. I still have those boots. And I met him for the first time. And I said, "Why did I get cast?" He said, "Your tape stood out." I told him the Jack Nicholson story. He said he was right. And I said, "Let me ask you something. You're an actor. Why? You weren't seeing any actors. No actors." Everybody said, no, you can't. I wanted to see you in person.
Yeah.
He said, "No, he doesn't see anybody in person." I said, "Clint, why don't you see anybody?" He said, "Oh, I wouldn't be able to say no to anybody I meet, I just..."
Yeah, I've read that, even today, he just sees people on tape, and the first time that he meets an actor is kind of the first day they're on the set.
So when we were on the set, I remember saying to him, "Listen, I've got this idea. Can I talk to you about it?" "Sure." I said, "It's a great script and everything, but my character, W.W., doesn't talk for the first little while. I don't want lines, but he doesn't say anything. But his attitude that's written there is very nervous and fearful, and he's coming to the West for the first time. And then eventually, he comes out on the sidewalk with English Bob, and he's surrounded by deputies and guns, and he pees his pants. And that's when they ask him, "What do you do?" "I'm a writer, letters and such." No, I write, And I said, "I think it's wrong." He said, "Well, what's wrong?" "I don't think my attitude should be nervous. I think I should be full of myself. I think I should be smug, and I think I should feel like I know exactly where I'm going. And then when I'm, it'll be kind of a nice surprise, And he said, "And you're telling me this because..." I said, "Because you're the director of the movie, and I'm changing what's in the script." And I thought, he said, "Okay, Saul, you'll get to know me, and you'll find out that, first of all, you're in charge of the department of W.W. Beauchamp. That's your department, not mine. You're in charge of the character, not me. You don't need to tell me everything that you want to do, unless you're changing dialogue, but I'm not changing dialogue. Anything you want to do with this, just do it, and I'll be sure to ask you if I don't understand something." And he was true to his word, and I'll tell you that I have never seen actors directed less than I have on Unforgiven. He would say, "It's up to you, but if you want to be lit, I would move a little bit to your left,
So that's what's interesting about Clint Eastwood is that, especially compared to other directors who are more kind of in your face, he casts the right people that he believes in.
He's lucky.
And then he lets them kind of interpret the script and do their job. And by doing that and not being so micromanaging, it allows, interesting moments to happen. And
Not just the actors. Everyone.
yeah.
Everyone. The whole crew. He had, my interpretation of him directing was that many directors that I've worked with have a t-shirt on, and the t-shirt says on the front, my vision, and on the back it says, shall be realized. And if Clint had a t-shirt on, it would say my vision on the front, and on the back it would say, hopefully will be transcended. And that's the essence of collaboration. Don't forget, this is a guy whose heart is really as a jazz musician, right? He's an improviser and a jazz musician. That's where he is. That's really kind of what he loves, and along with movie making and acting. But he was a jazz pianist. Yeah. And so that element of who he is in his work. Kind of like the way Bob Dylan likes to record rough stuff, He likes to record it rough. And he likes that kind of reality to happen. He never even says action, because he hates the fact that as an actor he hated that stress, and he doesn't want to give it to anybody else. So he says, all right, go ahead anytime you feel like you want to start. It's not the only way to direct, and it's just his way to direct. And I'll say this, it works most of the time. But don't forget that when we did Unforgiven, maybe people forgotten this, he had 5 financial, not critical, but 5 financial failures in a row. I remember what the movies are, whether they're Pink Cadillac and Tightrope or White Hunter Black Heart. There were a number of them, Bird, there were a number of them that were really interesting films that hadn't made money or much money. And so this was a bigger movie, and he had more people above the line, bigger stars than he normally did. Usually just him and one other name, but this was a number of names. So he didn't direct actors, and he let it all loose, he liked the feeling that things were happening. I'll tell you, if you were even knowledgeable about film, and you went on the Unforgiven set, and Clint was not let's say he wasn't a famous face, as he is, and you knew a lot about what movie sets were like, it would take you 15, 20 minutes to figure out who the director was on that set.
Huh.
You couldn't, he was not standing around giving orders.
He wasn't like an authority figure. People didn't see, the director's
He was,
over
but
everybody.
he was an authority figure, but a very quiet, unassuming one, a very gentle authority figure. And he had sat with that script for almost a decade before he decided he was right for it. It's an amazing, that's a very unusual film. I met David Peoples a few years later after doing it. Not that many, about 3 years later. I was shooting a movie in San Francisco, and David Peoples, the author, was working or living in Berkeley, and I met him for the first time, and I said, what was this like? And he said, can you imagine? I wrote this script in the 70s, 78, and then Francis Ford Coppola bought it. There were a few pages that were changed. It was supposed to be a zoetrope first Western by Coppola, but it ended up getting sent as a writing sample to Clint, who bought it from Coppola and sat on it for a decade. Right. And then I wasn't on the set, and then one day I get a call from Clint saying, do you want to come to a screening of the movie? And I said, wow. And so then David went to LA and went to Mal Paso, and they had a screening room, and he saw the movie. Yeah. He said, I was expected to be in an audience. I said, you weren't? He said, it was me and Clint and the movie. And I said, what happened? He said, I wept, man. I said, why? He said, because it's not a word was changed. You gotta, I saw what I wrote in 78. He said, you've got to understand that as writers, we basically sell our children. They're brought up by other people so that we can eat. You sell your children off one by one.
I think that's always been Clint Eastwood's philosophy. When he commits to a script, he commits to that draft of the script. He doesn't go in and make drastic changes. He's very this is what I believe in. That's why I'm committing to the script.
Certainly was in this case, and I just can't get over how David Peoples must have felt watching that when you never see that. I mean, scripts are rainbow colors by the time you end them, because every time there's a change in a line in a movie script, it's a different colored paper with a different date on it. So you have a script that looks like a rainbow by the time you're done. But that script was all white pages when we were done. It was all white pages. Not a word had been changed in that script. Not a word.
I must say about your performance in the last scene in the movie when you're in that saloon, you look absolutely terrified. I don't know where that came from, but I mean, it's incredible the way you're so concentrated and in the moment of the chaos that's happening.
I don't remember any of that. I do remember this. Here's what I remember of that scene. I remember this. Hey, Clint, do you never work with video assist? He said, not unless there's stunts, you know. Really? I mean, you're directing and you're acting in it. And he goes, hey, man, I've only got 2 performances. I've got brim down, brim up. I said, funny, man. And that was a funny line. And, okay, so we're doing the scene. Just the two of us. Everybody else is dead. And there were only 2 of us left. And he does his close-up. And he's famous for, what he does is he does 2 takes and then moves on. Otherwise it's jerking off, you know. I mean, 2 good takes, not just 2 takes, just 2 good. Once he gets 2 good takes, he'll move on. At least that's how he operated in Unforgiven. Yeah. And I heard from other actors that was cool. So we did 2 good takes. And I was nervous because I said, hey, Clint. He said, what? I said, ask the director for another take. Oh, I said, he said, you think I can do it better? I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, but if I use that 3rd take and it is better, I'm not giving you any credit for it. I said, okay, it's fine. So I was nervous because I said that. But I did say it. And he did, and the take that's in there is the 3rd take, as I recall. But I remember saying, I think you could do another take. It was a big thing to say.